What's up, everybody? It's your boy TGK here with another video. Today we're going to do something different. Today we're going to live react to the YouTuber known as ThreeCone, where he released a video talking about, or titled as, the Dallas Mavericks look terrible. Looking forward to see what he says in this video. Again, he is an Oklahoma City Thunder fan, so I don't know whether we're going to take whatever he says with a grain of salt or if he's going to be legitimate. I don't know. I haven't seen much of his content before, so we're going to check it out today as a Dallas Mavericks fan through a Dallas Mavericks lens, all right? We're going to do it this way, right? We're not casuals here. We're hardcore Mavs fans. We're going to see what he's talking about. Also, if you don't know who I am, my name's TGK. I host a pre and post Mavs show, or Mavs pregame show, Mavs post-game show with my co-host Sticks. We also host a Midnight Madness, where it's a free-for-all podcast style video on the weekends. Other than that, man, definitely check it out. Consider becoming a subscriber, like the video, and let's go ahead and let's get started with reviewing ThreeCone's video titled "The Dallas Mavericks Look Terrible." Again, this was filmed by him immediately after the Utah Jazz game, so we're gonna see what it's all about. Here we go. Let's start it.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone, and we need to have a talk about the Dallas Mavericks. Coming into the season, they had the second best odds to win the Western Conference, only behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, and this made sense. They
I don't know about second best odds now. I don't know about that. I think the Nuggets were ahead of us. The Minnesota Timberwolves were ahead of us in some other rankings. We did not have the second best odds. No. Let's not. Don't hype us up, Cone, to then bring us back down. And, I find it odd. Like, what's the ThreeCone name stand for? Like, if you're known as a cone on the basketball court, that is not the greatest look. But if you're known as a ThreeCone, oh my God, there's got to be a different meaning behind it. I know you don't want to be known as three cones on the court. Like, that's really bad defensively, but let's just get around this. All right, anyway, no pun intended. Let's get it started.
should have been in that top contender conversation. They had a top 3 player in the world in Luka Dončić. Some people tell you he was the best player in the world. They had Kyrie Irving. They added a great player in Klay Thompson, who's really going to help fix some of their shooting woes. They still had great role players like a Daniel Gafford and PG Washington, both of whom were huge for the Mavericks after they were acquired at the trade deadline. They had Derek Lively, a young big who felt poised to take a bit of a leap. They added Najee Marshall to replace Derek Jones Jr., who some people would argue was a better fit for that team. And yeah, they were coming off a finals appearance. They were just there, and the only reason they lost was because they faced a juggernaut Celtics team. So with another...
Hey, all of what he just said was spot on. Everything he just said was pretty spot on. I'm going to give him a gunshot for that. Good stuff, man. Let's continue.
Another year of chemistry and really meshing this core together. It felt like the Mavs are once again going to be a player at the top of the Western Conference, and so far, they've absolutely not looked that part. And the worst moment of this extremely frustrating season so far came last night against the Utah Jazz, a team that has been the worst squad in the Western Conference so far this season, didn't have a home win yet, and has gotten annihilated by some of their better opponents up until this point. Now, the Mavericks were without Kyrie Irving and PG Washington, who both play significant roles, but you still got Luka, you still got Klay, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Like, you still have a lot of really good players, and there are a lot of other teams beat up by injury right now that are finding ways to get wins against much better opponents than this. This is...
All right. Hey, foreshadowing, right? Is he foreshadowing here? Because the Thunder, they still had a decent amount of their role players other than Chet and, Alex Caruso. Hey, I'm just saying, we didn't have Luka, and we found a way to win, but, yeah, I'm just being a anti-OKC fan, here. It is what it is. Let's continue. I'll hold my comments for the sake of the video. Let's go.
It's a game that you absolutely have to go ahead and win. But instead of this being a groove-finding moment, they had a bad performance, including a third quarter that they lost by 17 points, which is the worst quarter that this Mavericks team has had since before last year's trade deadline. So really...
Our best first quarter happened yesterday against the Thunder, so great turnaround by us. We went from having one of the worst quarters, having one of the worst losses, to having one of our best quarters and probably having our best win of the season. So great turnaround so far, and I know this is hindsight 2020. I was looking to film this video literally the day that he released it, which is before the OKC game, but just kind of ran out of time. procrastinated and never got to it. But let's continue.
The worst quarter since the team as we currently know it was assembled. They got torched defensively. Nobody outside of Luka could score in that period. Clay especially was throwing up bricks all throughout the night. They were turning the ball over. Yep. It was looking like they were going to lose. Now, they did respond big in the fourth quarter, going on a massive run to go from down 16 in the fourth to up 2 with 90 seconds left. And then they immediately gave up 5 points. Jordan Clarkson and one was in there. They tied it back up with a Klay Thompson 3. All they had to do was get a stop, and they would have a few seconds left to get a chance to go ahead and hit a game-winning shot, or at the very least go to overtime, and with a lot better talent, you probably win even though you're on the road. Instead, Luka has one of the worst defensive lapses I've seen, completely falling asleep on defense with John Collins walking to the basket. He probably could have gotten a pass like 5 seconds earlier than he did from Jordan Clarkson. He goes ahead and dunks the ball. The Jazz go up by 2. The Mavericks...
Damn, that angle was even worse. Like, Clarkson was like, nah, he ain't looking. That was horrible.
Mavericks have to make something happen. They get the ball to Luka on the inbounds. He tries to drive, gets doubled, kicks it over to Najee Marshall, who is wide open in the corner, and he puts up one of the worst air balls in a game-winning shot attempt that I have ever seen. I think it was the right play to go ahead and make that pass, but Najee just completely misses everything, and the Mavericks lose to the Utah Jazz. This is now the 4th straight game that they've lost by 1 possession in a row, and they're now 1-6 in clutch games so far this season after being a great clutch team last year, and they're now 5-7 on the season as a whole, which is only better in the Western Conference than the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Pelicans. To say they've been frustrating might be a bit of an understatement. They've been an inconsistent mess through the first 12 games of the season.
Damn. Hey, like... If we haven't said this on the show, then I don't know. But hey, salute to him, man. As an outsider looking inside to our squad and giving us perspective on our squad, this has been pretty spot on, man. Salute to ThreeCone. I'm actually quite impressed with his factual observations. I'm just kind of waiting for the look terrible. Like, is there going to be like a pivot point in the video where he's like, all right, this is why they're terrible, or is it just going to be more safe, surface level, factual statements, like typical YouTubers? Anyway, let's continue.
And the biggest problem is those late game scenarios. They will play pretty well from like the 6 or 5 minute mark to about the 2 minute mark, and then they just forget how to play basketball. It turns into iso ball. They don't run any plays, and they're just relying on their great talents like Kyrie, Luka, and Clay, who have gotten it done a million times in the past, but it's not clicking right now. And Jason Kidd, I've never been the biggest fan of him as a coach. I've always felt like he doesn't really elevate the team that much. I do think he did a good job in last year's finals run, but it feels like consistently in the regular season, his teams underperform and they have to work their way up towards the end of the season. They get off to these slow starts, and that's what we're seeing right now. Not running any plays. It's kind of just like, hey, Luka, create a step back 3, or Kyrie, make some magic happen on the final possessions of games, off of rotations. There were points in this game where Dwight Powell and Derek Lively and Dwight Powell and Daniel Gafford were on the court at the exact same time. That should literally never happen. If anything, just to prevent my eyes from falling out of my head from watching that basketball, never mind trying to win games. I don't know why that's a thing that he's trying. It feels like the team is lackadaisical on defense. There's not a lot of effort there. Hustle, they're getting out-rebounded. I've never been a big fan of him as a coach, and I feel like that really shines in those late game scenarios. And it doesn't help that Luka Doncic, who off...
Hey, man, this man cooking. That man just killed Jason Kidd. God. Sheesh. Sticks will definitely love this video. Wow. That man just eviscerated Jason Kidd right there. Jesus.
Makes miracles out of nothing in those late game scenarios, has been playing way below his standard so far this season. He's currently dropping 29.3 points per game with 8 rebounds and 8 assists. Like, those numbers are still ridiculous, but he's shooting 42.8% from the field and 32% from 3. Those marks are way below his usual standard. Yep. He looks really sluggish out there. The 3 ball isn't falling at all, but he's definitely still taking them, oftentimes settling for a lot of them. You know he loves those step backs late in games, shots from like 30 feet out. I feel like he needs to get downhill a little bit more or settle for some easier looks to kind of get himself into a rhythm because, yeah, he's still putting up ridiculous numbers, and overall he's been a very helpful offensive player, but he hasn't been the Luka Doncic the Mavericks need to get to that upper echelon. And don't even get me started on the defense, because right now he's playing some of the worst defense I've ever seen from him.
All right. That's a hot take right there. That's a bit of a hot take. Honestly, to defend Luka a little bit, I would say for this season he's been playing, decent to good defense for the most part. It's just situation ball, like he has mental lapses. And again, if you're going off of the Jazz game, I can't defend the Jazz game, but for the most part, the rest of the games, I thought Luka's been pretty damn good defensively. You can't be a top 10 ranked team defensively without having Luka participate and play pretty good defensively. I mean, he's great on a low post. He's been decent in isolation this year. Again, just sometimes highlights are only gonna highlight some of his poorest defensive efforts, which plenty of them were in the Jazz game. So, but to say he's the worst, I don't know. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but let's continue.
Which sucks because there were genuine bright spots at the end of last season. He was more locked in defensively than I think I've ever seen him, having some really good defensive games. It was inconsistent some nights, but overall was a lot better than usual. And with a player who is this good offensively, all you need from him is to kind of hold his own on the defensive end to really skyrocket his value and help the team win. But right now it looks like he's just falling asleep. He doesn't care all that much. I keep thinking about the John Collins play, and that's nowhere near the only defensive lapse he had in this matchup, nowhere near the only one he's had this season.
That one, yeah.
But that one is just like, how do you let that happen? It looks like there was an assistant coach on the side talking to him and Quentin Grimes. It looked like to me he was pointing out John Collins, and he looked pretty mad after that moment. Luka said there was a miscommunication after the game, and he did accept blame for it, which is good because he should. I do believe it was his fault. But, like, you have to just be better. Hopefully this is a turning point because my entire Twitter timeline is clowning him for that moment. He has to be better. He doesn't have to be that good, but he can't be losing them games on the final possessions by just not guarding anybody.
Yeah, your whole timeline is Luka related. I get it. The Mavericks were the only game that night. I get it. Everybody that watches basketball saw the Jazz and Mavericks game, which is pretty embarrassing to lose on a night that no one else was playing. But yeah, speaking of your timeline, Cone 3 has me blocked on Twitter, and I never understood why. I never knew of him until someone sent like one of his posts to me, and I was like, oh, let me check him out. And then come to find out I'm blocked by his Twitter. So I'm just over here like 50 Cent, bro. I'm like,
what did he say fuck me for?
So we'll see. We'll see if he sees this video and unblocks me. Unblock me, ThreeCone. Unblock me. Now, not that my feelings are hurt, but I don't think I ever offended you. And if I did, show me, and then, the block is valid at that point.
And the supporting cast has had its issues too. Like Klay Thompson has been very up and down to start this season. He shot 11 of 25 from 3 the last 2 games, which is great. But before that, the 2 games prior was 2 of 13 from 3. Earlier in the season, had a 3-game stretch of 5 of 21. Yep. He's either really on fire or he can't seem to hit anything from the outside. And there are many of those stretches just within individual games themselves. It's Klay Thompson at this point in his career. That's kind of what you're going to get. Unfortunately, it's currently led to the lowest 3-point percentage of his entire career. Now, again, it's still very early. He's adjusting to a new team. He's never played outside of Golden State. So I'm not saying that Klay is completely doomed or anything. I still think he's been fine, but it definitely doesn't help when Luka's struggling to have Klay Thompson playing like this. Not to mention the self-creation is really not there anymore, nor is the defense. So you need him more than ever to hit those threes to maximize his value. And so far, it's been a little bit below what I was hoping for from him. Najee Marshall, who's supposed to be the Derrick Jones Jr. replacement, has not been great. He's had a couple of good games.
Whoa. Has not been great? All right. If he's not been great, maybe I should listen to what he's going to say. Look, to say Najee has not been great is a bit of a hot take. That's a bit of a hot take. Like, what, as a Mavericks fan, what's the only thing we complain about Najee Marshall? It's probably his 3-point shooting. Maybe some turnovers late game against the Thunder. But other than that, we don't have much to complain about. I think it's been fantastic, but let's see.
Recently scoring the ball overall. Like tonight, he had 19 points with 3 steals and was big in helping them come back from that big deficit they had in the fourth, but he can't shoot for anything right now. So far this season, including that horrible air ball, he's 4 of 25 from the outside. He's shooting 16% from 3, which is concerning. You might think, oh, he's going to regress the mean a little bit, but last year was the only season that Najee Marshall has ever been even like a decent shooter. Every other season, he's been pretty poor from the outside, and the Mavericks and many other people, including me, were hoping that he was turning a little bit of a corner last year and it wasn't an outlier. But if this trend continues, it was 100% an outlier, and that makes it a big problem having him in your starting lineup, because when you get to the playoffs, if he's shooting anywhere close to the way he is now, teams are just going to leave him open like the Celtics were doing to PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr. in the finals last year. Speaking of PJ, he's been hurt these last few games, but when he's been out there...
Well, actually, I kind of disagree with what he said there. one, Najee's not in our starting lineup. Two, the difference between him and Derrick Jones is he could create off the dribble, off the bounce. Unlike Derrick Jones could just attack the basket or take a three and pray it goes in. Same thing here. He could take a three and pray it goes in, but if you've been watching, you've been seeing that he could facilitate too. He could create offense. He has this crazy fadeaway floater, one-handed floater. Najee's been extremely solid defensively and offensively as well as like a tertiary ball handler, creator, whatnot, if you will, right? So I think it's pretty kind of off when it comes to Najee. I think he's gonna be big in the playoffs. I think Najee's like a playoff kind of performer. So yeah, I think that takes a little bit off for sure.
He's also not hitting threes, shooting just 22.6% from the outside. And he's another guy who has not been that good of a shooter in his recent career. He had a couple of really hot games in the playoffs. I know myself as a Thunder fan, he's like the single reason.
Yeah, speak on it, bro. Speak on it. Yeah. PJ Washington hates him some OKC Thunder. Like my boy Marcel says, look to see where his first baby mama from. Anyway, continue.
Why the Thunder lost that series, he went insane. But again, the Celtics were leaving him open from three, and that is something that is still concerning. He's helpful for them defensively, and I do really think they miss him on that end right now. But the shooting is worrying. Spencer Dinwiddie has been bad as a backup guard. Dante Exum dealing with injury. They could probably use him back. Not been a great start this season for Jaden Hardy. He hasn't shown that much progression. Quentin Grimes just had a really good game, so maybe he's going to be more part of the rotation. They're going to need some more consistency and outside shooting, so hopefully he can provide that. They've been getting killed on the boards so far this season. Like Gafford is not great as a rebounding big. Lively got the start tonight, which I was excited about. I thought this was a big opportunity for him. Then he just couldn't stop fouling people. He got 5 fouls in like 8 minutes tonight and pretty much couldn't stay on the court. There really haven't been that many bright spots for the Mavericks to begin this season outside of like Kyrie Irving, who's playing some of the best basketball of his entire career right now. He's currently dropping 25, 5, and 5 on 55% shooting from the field and 54% from deep. If it weren't for him going legitimately insane and being one of the best offensive players in the sport right now, this thing could be going way, way worse. So
damn, I can't even rebuttal that. That is a very valid point, sir. Very valid point, and I don't even have like a round of applause for you, but I'll just do this.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Very, very valid point. Good stuff there.
The question is, should we be panicking about the Dallas Mavericks? And I'm going to say no for the moment, but there's definitely a lot of room for concern, because while they've dealt with slow starts in the past, this is the worst 12-game start of the Luka Doncic era outside of his rookie season, when on paper, this is the most talented team they've ever had around him. They need to sharpen up a lot on the defensive end. They need role players to get more consistent quick. They need Luka to be better on both ends as their guy. Probably need to get a new head coach, but that's not going to happen this season. Definitely need to get healthier. There are a lot of things in front of them that have me worried. Again, I'm not giving up on the team at all, but it has certainly been extremely frustrating watching such a talented team completely flounder fresh off of finals berth. Last year, they were this insanely clutch team led by one of the best backcourts in NBA history. They clamped you up defensively, had guys hit timely shots, whether it was those stars or role players. They were bought in on both ends and had this fire about them, and none of that has really shown so far this season. There's not a lot of room for error at all in this Western Conference, especially for the Mavericks, who, according to Tankathon, still have the 10th hardest schedule.
Tankathon? What the fuck is that? What's Tankathon, ladies and gentlemen? What? All right, fam. Y'all got it. Continue.
In the league ahead of them from now till the end of the season. And over their next 7 games, it's tough. They've got the Spurs, who have been extremely scrappy to start this season, and Wemby just had a 50 bomb. The Thunder, who are going to be without Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, but they're still finding ways to get wins with.
All right, San Antonio, we won. OKC, we won. We're going to beat the New Orleans Pelicans. We're going to beat Denver. We're going to beat Miami. We're going to beat Atlanta. We're going to beat New York. We're going to win 7 games in a row, y'all. Just watch. Just watch.
Small ball lineup. The Pelicans, who are decimated, they'll probably beat them. But then there's the Nuggets, who have looked really good as of late. The Heat, who are always a challenge. The Hawks, who have looked pretty solid this season. The Knicks, who really need to get right and are going to be looking to take down one of the top opponents in the league to help them on that path. It's a tough 7-game schedule. If they don't look a lot better than they did in this game, they're going to lose a majority of those contests. This is a prime opportunity for them to show the NBA world that, hey, it's just a slow start. We're fine. We've done this before. And we're still a massive threat in the Western Conference. They could definitely put together a bunch of wins here and showcase that. Or we could have to make another video in a couple of weeks where we are very concerned and panicking and talking about what moves the Mavericks might need to make.
Why do you say we are panicking? Why do you say we? Don't say we. I don't like that. You're not a Mavericks fan, ThreeCone. Come on now. There's no we in that. It's a Mavs fans, not a we. You're a Thunder fan. But thank you.
To make themselves relevant in the Western Conference again. Only time will tell, but so far they've been extremely disappointing and very, very frustrating. And I know that's not just me. I follow a lot of Mavericks fans. I have a lot of friends who are Mavs fans, and
I'm not one of them.
they are angry about the way that this season has started. It's been nowhere near their expectations. They can definitely turn it around, but they've got to do this fast, or else we might be talking about the eventual play in Dallas Mavericks. With all that being said, those are my thoughts on the Mavericks so far. Let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts are. Should we be panicking about Dallas? Is it too early for that? Are there any moves you would consider making in the early season? What do you think is the biggest issue, the biggest culprit for why the Mavericks have started off as slow as they have? Leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future uploads. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Rewind, say it back.
That was it. That was the video. That was it. I was waiting for where the Dallas Mavericks were terrible.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, man. As a Mavericks fan, as a Mavericks observer of things, right? I left that video like I didn't learn anything. Because, you know, we're basketball sickos over here on TGK TV. I didn't leave with any new information from that video. So, but those videos work for casuals, right? So if I'm like a super casual and I wanted to know what's up with the Boston Celtics, those kind of videos are perfect for those kind of individuals. For a Mavericks fan, I mean, he had a lot of facts, a lot of, you know, surface level understanding of the team, had some good breakdowns. But as far as what he was saying there was nothing different that I learned, and there was only one or two hot takes. The hot take about, what do you say about Luka? What was it? What do you say about Luka playing terrible defense? That's kind of a bit of a hot take, and then Najee not being great for us. That's a bit of a hot take. Other than that, he really didn't go out there. I thought he would have been doing a little victory lap, that since we've been playing pretty bad up until that point, but. He didn't say much, do much. Just gave you some basic knowledge of the Mavericks, and you know, all of it was valid. I gave him credit where credit was due, and you could tell he did his research. So salute the ThreeCone for that video, but add some flair on the next one, my guy. Add some flair on the next one, you know. I'm already thinking it's a stream. It is not a stream, but yeah, man. Again, I thought that was a solid video. If you didn't know much about the Mavericks, but if you know a lot about the Mavericks, like myself and the majority of the TGK TV community, then you know we all basketball sickos. We've already been known that. We're already on the next thing. But appreciate y'all tuning in. If y'all like this style of content, let me know. I'll watch other videos y'all want me to check out. Leave it in the comments below. Let me know who y'all want me to react to. You know, just this is the YouTube universe here, right? But if you didn't know, I host Mavs pregame shows and Mavs postgame shows with my co-host Sticks. We also host Midnight Madness, which is a weekly free-for-all podcast for our members. Consider being a member. Consider liking this video. Consider subscribing to the channel as well. Anyway, man, it's been your boy TGK. Appreciate y'all being here, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one.